All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Carmine Tutera. I'm with the CFOA, and I'd like to welcome all you ladies and gentlemen to our coaches meeting 2020-21. I'd like to first and foremost, on behalf of the CFOA, thank you for being here and taking time out to be with us tonight. It's very much appreciated. We have a lot of insightful information for you. And just before we get started, I would like to see if I could get everybody to, number one, turn their video on so we can see you. Number two, please mute your microphone so we don't get feedback during the presentation. And very important for us is if you could put your name and the school that you're from. That would be fantastic for us, so we have a record of everybody who attended. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you our president of the CFOA and our great leader. You know him as Mr. Kramer or Alan Kramer. Alan, are you with us? Hello.
I am, but I had to unmute. Well, thank you, Carmine. I'd like to welcome the coaches, and if we have any ADs online with us, welcome you as well. Carlos and his team have put together this presentation to get us off to a great start in lieu of our normal gathering that we do in a gymnasium. Of course, we've had to change those plans due to everything else that's going on. Everybody's well aware of that. First and foremost, I hope everybody's staying safe, staying healthy, and continue to do what you need to do to stay that way. Our goal as we move forward is to minimize risk, maximize safety, and have a great basketball season. And I know if we work together, we can do that. So first up, I know Carmine, you just mentioned, if anybody just tagged in, please make sure you type your name in on the chat room and the school that you are affiliated with. Again, Carmine just mentioned it. We'll continue to mention it as we go through. So if we have any individuals that join us late, we get them on as well. I'd like to introduce to you one of the individuals that helped put the presentation together, Jim Mills, who is our rules interpreter for the Central Florida Officials Association and has been so for several years. Is a great connection to the FHSAA for us. We channel all of our questions to him and he takes them to them and gets the clarification. So without further ado, to steal Carmine's words, I'd like to introduce Jim Mills.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much. And thank you to all the coaches and ADs who've taken the time to attend this presentation tonight. It has labeled 2020-2021 rule changes, but I thought it'd be very good to go over the rules changes that we had last year, just as a recap, so that we know what's going to be also continuing on this year as well. The first rule change that we had last year had to do with the width of the headbands that were allowed. They went from being a maximum of 2 inches wide now to 3 inches wide. And also that a headband has to go completely around the head and be subject to the color restrictions that are in Rule 3-5 of the rule book. And as opposed to hair control devices, which don't have any color restrictions and just go around hair and not the entire head. The second rule change that we had last year was really a clarification of kind of a subject that happened all of a sudden that the National Federation finally decided to act on. And that was the sudden interest of the players wanting to roll up their shorts at the waistband. And I know there was some inconsistent rulings on that. And this clarification came out last year to make it perfectly legal to fold or roll up the shorts at the waistband. But the caveat to that is that the drawstring could not be showing. The reason why is we don't want to have possible injury from somebody catching it by accident and jamming or ripping up a finger. The next rule change that we had was for optional mouth guards. At this time, the Florida High School Athletic Association does not have a requirement right now for players to have mouth guards. But if they do, or if one of your players wants to wear a mouth guard, in Rule 358, which was added to the rule book, it lists all the different standards that are there. Carmine, we should probably be on slide 4 now, I would think. 5. Next one. And these next slides list the different specifics on what the mouth guard, should have. Next slide, please. And as it says down below, state associations may deem a tooth and mouth protector required equipment. I can tell you that the state of Florida has not gotten to that point yet. Next slide, please. This is also a clarification of a rule that happened the year before in 2018. It was just clarified to show that an offensive team that has team control of the ball in the front court and it gets a pass or whatever gets deflected by a defensive player and goes into the back court, it can be in the air when the offensive team player retrieves it in the back court and still be an exception and not be back court in that particular instance. In previous years, there was misapplication of this particular rule because officials were thinking that the ball had reached front court status and now got into the back court and hadn't made back court status because it didn't bounce in the back court. This rule clarification was to allow it to happen even if it doesn't bounce in the backcourt to establish backcourt status. The next rule had to do with the amount of any number of assistant coaches can now enter the court whenever a fight is about to happen or when one has happened. This is to help, peel the players apart and get, players also keep them on their benches so that they don't come off and that we don't have to penalize them. Okay, next slide is our poll question. And if you would take just a minute here to answer true or false real quick, in the poll question there, should have an opportunity to either list true or false.
Is that true?
Okay, we'll give everybody about 10 more seconds to answer. All right, Carmine. The answer was true, by the way. All right. let's go over the rule changes that are coming up this year in 2020, 2021. In previous years, there was confusion by timers who didn't understand that we needed to have 2 horns when an official requests a timer to give them 15 seconds for purposes of replacing a disqualified player, an injured player, or a player that has to go to the bench because they got blood or something else going on their jersey or shorts or what have you. And now the timers are instructed to give a warning signal or a horn at the time that the official asks for it to be put on, and then a second horn at the end of the 15 seconds. Next slide, please. So if you would please help instruct your timers of this, you need to be aware of that. Now, the only exception to this procedure is we've got an injured player on the court. We've stopped the clock. The officials stopped the game. Asked for the coach and or medical personnel to come on the court and attend to the injured player. If the coach asks for a timeout, thinking that they'll be able to remedy whatever injury or situation that occurred with their player before, and I emphasize before, the official goes to the table and asks for the 15-second replacement period to start. At that time, after the timeout is completed, at that time, that player is able to return to the court and play, presuming that their injury or whatever situation can be rectified. Once the official, and coaches, please be aware of this, once the official asks for the 15-second interval to replace a player, we can't grant a timeout until a substitute comes to the table and is beckoned onto the court. And then at that time, we can honor your timeout request. However, at that time, your player who was injured and had to be replaced is not going to be allowed to come back on the court until after the clock has properly started or stopped, rather. I believe everybody understands that one. The intent of this rule is to avoid gamesmanship. And please keep in mind, head coaches, that if you don't have a substitute at the table replacement, that you are going to be assessed a direct technical foul. Next slide, please. There we go. One more clause was added to this particular rule for a reason for having to forfeit a game. And it's only in that situation when a coach is ejected for, let's just say, unsporting conduct, and there isn't another school authorized adult available that can take responsibility for their team. And in that situation, the game will be forfeited. The team that is being forfeited to, if they're ahead, then the actual score is what's put in the book for the win. If the team is behind, then the actual score in the book for them will be just 2-0. Next slide, please. This is just a clarification of that. Obviously, an unhappy coach there. All right. Also, the penalty for the head coach's rule is really about the bench warning that was written into the rule book back in 2018. And there was some confusion by officials and coaches alike, where it was worded in such a way that warning will be given, shall be given, and then it also was followed by unless the offense is judged to be major, in which case a technical foul should be ruled. Well, the Federation in their infinite wisdom thought that that was a little confusing, so they now say that the official may warn the head coach. So in those situations where an official, next slide, please. And this is you've got a coach there saying, look, the fouls are 7-1. Coaches, I'm sorry. If you say that, you're implying that the officials are possibly cheating, and that's an unsporting foul. And it's just it's not acceptable behavior on your part. So in that case, a technical foul would be issued. But if you're just talking, loudly or somebody on your bench, such as an assistant coach, is talking loudly and making derisive or, snide comments to officials about what's going on during the game, then we as officials can go to the table and issue a bench warning. It doesn't say we have to do that now. It says we may if we choose to. But I guarantee you, in this picture right here, if you yelling 7 fouls to 1, I'm not giving you a warning. I'm sorry, coach. You're getting a technical because that's unsporting behavior. Next, now, that ends the rules changes, but some of the points of emphasis that are going to be done this year, next slide, please, have to do with some very specific plays. Block charge. This is one that, as some people know, is probably one of the harder plays to get correctly. And let's understand what a block is. A block is contact by a defensive player on an offensive player who has the ball when that defensive player never got legal guarding position. And that's key. Though you're going to hear this a lot if you ask the question, why is that a charge? Because your player did not have legal guarding position, coach. A charge is contact by an offensive player with the ball into a defensive player that has obtained legal guarding position. Next slide, please. And here we've got the basics on how to obtain legal guarding position. The defensive player must first be both feet inside the court, not 1 foot on a boundary line and another in the court, because that makes them illegal. And they must have both feet on the floor and be initially facing the opponent. Now they can turn after they have obtained legal guarding possession. They don't have to take the charge, right in the face. But in order to get legal guarding position, that's what it takes. Now, this is an example of legal guarding position. If the player number 1 black runs into white 3 in the torso or off to the side of the shoulder, and contact is made in such a manner that the defensive player is displaced, then that's going to be called a charge. Now, a defensive player can also maintain their legal guarding position as long as they don't go forward. They can go backwards, they can go sideways, they can jump up in the air in their vertical plane, they can go obliquely. As long as they don't go forward and there's contact by an offensive player with the ball into the torso of the defensive player, that's a charge. So please help train your players to understand the difference and to get into legal guarding position. The next point of emphasis that we have has to do with palming and carrying. And this has always been a problem because, if you go to the next slide, please. Kids are watching either gurus on the, or they're watching NBA, and they're just not understanding that when they do that crossover that some of the NBA players do, that it is in our league palming or carrying. It's okay to start the dribble by throwing it down or batting the ball forward. Can we go to the next slide, please, Carmine? But the dribble ends as it is in this picture. You'll see there the ball is resting in the Black 35's hands. I like to liken it like a dinner plate. If the ball sits on a dinner plate and another dribble happens, that's palming and carrying, and we're going on. Next slide, please. Anything more than a handshake. That's what I like to tell players who ask me, what is not palming? You can have your palm on the side of the ball all you want. as long as you don't form that dinner plate, we're going to be fine. So again, coaches, I request that you all teach your players proper dribbling technique. Next slide, please. We've got a clarification on intentional and flagrant fouls. Flagrant fouls is like fighting or vicious, brutal, contact by an upset player. I think we all know what flagrant fouls are. I think the real confusion is on intentional fouls. If you go to the next slide, please. Intentional fouls sometimes are not, called correctly. If you'll see in play pick one, whoops, back to the next slide, please. Whoops, there we go. In play pick one there, we see the black team player trying to, obviously it's probably towards the end of the game, trying to stop the clock, hopefully either get a steal on a throw in or possibly have a missed free throw and get a rebound and try to get closer because they're behind, they're trying to get closer, whatever the case may be. At any rate, this is an intentional foul because the black team player is not making a play towards the ball. Next slide, please. And in this slide, there are the first two items that are considered intentional fouls. One has to do with like a breakaway player going in for a layup after a steal. And the defensive player reaches out and grabs the offensive player by the waist or some other thing like that. All they're trying to do is neutralize an opponent's obvious advantageous position. And keep in mind, the penalty for an intentional foul in all cases like this is going to be 2 shots and the defensive team is going to get the ball back again. All right, and then we have contact that is not on a player who's not even in the basketball play, kind of like Shaq used to get fouled way back when he was playing, so that they could put him on the line and rebound one of his missed free throws. So there's a third one there, contact that's not a legitimate attempt to play the ball, specifically designed to stop the clock. Back up, please. Excessive contact is when your offensive player is, again, breaking away for a layup. You've got a big, tall guy that's following the play. He's going to block the shot, before the layup is completed, and hits the offensive player so hard that it knocks that player to the floor and into the mat and into the side wall of the gymnasium there. That's going to be called intentional foul. And then by rule in 9-2, any contact with a thrower in that's through the boundary plane of the boundary line, that's going to be ruled as an intentional foul as well. And then flagrant fouls, I think we've talked about before earlier. Mainly this is fighting or somebody just reaching out and slugging somebody. And keep in mind too that even though somebody swings and misses and makes no contact with a player, that's still considered a flagrant foul, and that player will be ejected. So anyway, that in a nutshell is the changes that have occurred along with the points of emphasis. We give you one more poll question here to make sure that you understood what was going on. If you'll mark on there what your answer is, and we'll give you about 10 seconds or 30 seconds, and we'll go from there.
Well, it looks
All right.
like we got a lot of falses, so.
Excellent. That's what we wanted, all false. All right, this is an opportune time. If you have any questions, feel free in unmuting your microphone there and fire away, please. Just tell me your name.
Hello.
Yes.
This is Ted Roberts. I was just wondering, I got on here late, so I was wondering if the recording is going to be available afterward.
Can't answer that. Carlos?
Yes.
Yeah, what we'll try to do is we've been trying to figure this out. This Zoom new once we figure where we could put it or send it, we'll definitely get it to the administrators of your I'm sorry, your ADs of your area, and
All right,
try to
thank
get
you.
it somewhere for you. Anybody else?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Malcolm, go ahead.
Well, Mike.
Okay, thank you. Yes, this is Malcolm Lewis from Edgewater. I just wanted to double check about jump ball. There's no jump ball this season?
Yeah, that's a funny thing. We were just talking about that. So basically, it is a recommendation, and we're going to talk it more because we as an association want to do it the same all the way across the board. And I think we're leaning toward doing the jump ball because you're going to be rebounding, guarding, and things like that. But we haven't made a decision as an association as of yet. So, but that'll be talked about, and I'm pretty sure we will be doing jump balls. But again, want to reserve that until we get a good clarification from the state if they feel one way or another about it.
Malcolm, what's your opinion?
Oh, I'm going by the rules. whatever you decide. I mean, you're correct. If it was in respect to COVID-19, yeah, that's just 5 seconds where they wouldn't be touching each other, and then all of a sudden, you know, they're back out there, you know, with contact. But if it's about, you know, going ahead and getting the game started in a clean manner, you know, or whatever, I see it either way. So, you know, whatever is decided, that's fine.
You sound like you're running for political office too. One of our
No, that's a great answer. That's a great answer.
No, and the reason we all laughed is Carlos said we were talking it, but we're kind of under the same impression you are. You know, we throw it up, and then the ball's, for lack of better words, contaminated after that point. If we hand it to somebody to throw the ball in, for lack of better words, it's contaminated at that point. So it really is, like you said, 5 seconds of it is going to make a difference. But until we get assurances from the state that they're okay, that if we say, hey, we're going to just run it normal, we don't want to say that's what we're going to do.
Okay, thank you.
Great question, though.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else?
Yeah, it looks like, let me see here. I thought we had another question.
Just me.
I have a question.
Yes.
It'd be interesting to see what the coaches think about that jump ball. Can we have you guys send in normal jump or COVID jump?
Jumper.
Oh, yes or no? Yes.
Yeah,
no,
type
no.
in
Yeah, standard jump, standard start or modified start, I guess, from the coaches. It'd be interesting just to see what their perspective is. My guess is, well, they're coming in.
We're getting all normal jumps.
Yeah. Yep, you sure are.
They just said don't have Carlos toss it, but yeah, normal jump.
Awesome.
All right. Well, if there's not any other questions, I'm going to introduce our Vice President of Basketball, Carlos Childress. so that he can talk to you a little about how things are going to be a little different this season than before. Carlos?
How's everybody doing? One more piece of housekeeping. Those of you who have jumped on a little late, please type in your name and the school that you represent. This is how I'm getting our roll call so I can send to the state so you guys can get credit for this meeting. So if you have not put your name in the school you represent, please do so. And that way you can get credit for this meeting. Basically what we're about to do is, this is conversational piece. It's all about, they sent us out this COVID consideration guidelines, that I've got 1,000,001 questions from the officials, talk to your county ADs, and basically just kind of want to get on the page with you guys of some of the things that you're thinking. So basically the county ADs have said it's pretty much going to be business as usual when it comes to basketball. Don't know how many fans you're going to allow. And our concern is that we want to take care of, as officials, everything inside the court, meaning just the things that we have to deal with. So, they're asking for like the benches. I mean, we're not going to monitor your players if they're wearing their mask on the benches. We're not going to monitor the stands if they're wearing masks in the stands, but we will ask the table, FHSA guidelines was just, the home book and the clock keeper, but the county ADs would like to have the home and a visiting book there along with the clock keeper, and then that'll be it. And at the same time, they must wear their mask the whole entire time. So we just kind of want to talk with the coaches to, have them. And the next big thing is us getting the ball in the locker room. I know that when there's a double game between a JV and a varsity game, generally you use the same basketball. And if there's a way to actually clean or sanitize the ball in between games, these are things that, again, it's going to be different. Maybe back in the seats where the players sit at a little bit further off the court to give us a little bit more room. Now, I know we're not going to be able to get 6 feet. That's no way you can get 6 feet for us on the court, but at least back it up a little bit to where there is workable room for everybody to kind of get by and least amount of contact when it comes to the student coaches and players. Next big thing would be coaches when you're approaching the officials. I mean, I know we not going to agree on things. If you have a question about, a correctable error or something, have a mask to where if we're closer than 6 feet for you to explain what you need, I'm going to direct the officials, if they could, to at least have a gator to where when they do have to come over to the benches to talk to you guys, they can put something up as well. So this is a different world. I mean, and one of the next biggest things is we don't want to know any of your players, but if by chance a COVID case comes up amongst your team, can you please contact us, CFOA, and say, hey, we had a player, that came down with COVID. This way we can, one, tell the officials that was part of that game that may have come in contact with that individual. And then that's way they can make their decision on, what precautions they would like to take. So it's just a little bit more communication, and we're instructing our officials, if they don't feel good, and they may start feeling bad at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and they got a 6 o'clock ball game, to where they contact their partners, and hopefully it doesn't happen. Everybody stays healthy, but we may have to pull a younger official that's qualified to do the game, but we may have to pull somebody to actually stay and work that varsity game. Again, these are all unknowns, but we need to be patient with you as well as you guys need to be patient with us when it comes to maybe having to move pieces around in order to cover your game and have a good game. Yes, Alan.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, it's very important that we get notified. And again, not specific individuals that you identified, but that one of your players. And I would prefer that that note go to Carlos or myself via an email or a phone call. So it could go to VP basketball CFOA, or it could go president basketball, president at CFOA.com. So please get that information to one of us too. And then we will go forth and track down. We only had one scenario in football where we actually had some of the officials tested as a precaution because we were contacted that there was a problem in one of the games. And thank God they came back negative on everybody.
Also, one of the big things as well is, can we, I know sometimes there's a lag between when the game ends and sometimes getting the officials back into the locker room or wherever we place that. If that can kind of little consistency as far as helping us out with that, because what we don't want to do is, one, when the game's over with, sometimes these fans take their mask off and things like that. This way, we'll let least exposure that we can have our officials be around, the better. And again, there's going to be changes in what we're doing is we're just kind of talking about it. I mean, and if you guys have any concerns or things that you guys would like to see, now's the time to kind of bring up your concerns, because in about a week and a half, I will be addressing the officials. And it's not just COVID. It can be, how we, check in with you, if there's different protocols that you guys would like to see, or different communication. I know we've talked to your ADs of your county, to where we don't want to call your AD, hey, what's going on, where we need to be. We just want to, like, say, business as usual. We show up, and if there's something different or something you're going to do that's not of the norm, that we at least, you guys let us know. So if, say, for instance, Malcolm, we go to Edgewater, and Edgewater say, well, we want the officials to wear masks while they officiate the game. We need that kind of news, because some officials won't be able to wear masks and some officials don't like to wear masks. And this way we can kind of, hey, okay, we need to change these officials out for somebody that can follow the guidelines of each school. So, communication is key with this COVID. So if there's anything special or anything that you guys need from us, we really need to know. At any moment, drop an email, like Alan said, and we'll answer the emails, and we'll get the officials on board with what each school is doing. So that's pretty much all I have as far as on the COVID. Do you guys have any questions as far as anything that you guys would like to see or you want to talk about? Rule wise, official wise. Everybody good?
Well, going back to, you mentioned each school may have some different standards in terms of how they're distancing or whatever. But my question is, for the officials, are we still allowed to put you all in the same dressing area? Does it have to be separate dressing areas?
So here's what we're telling our officials. We're telling everyone to go dress to the game if they can. They will definitely be wearing their mask, and they are to social distance. Yeah, we can be in the same room, but that doesn't mean we have to. If we can't be 6 feet apart, then what we do, we dress. We get into a common area. We'll find a common area that is away from people, and we can do our pregame. So we do have things that we are putting in place as far as the official. Yes, you can put us in the same place. If it's not big enough, then they'll make the decision. They go in and change. Then they'll make the decision to go out into, like at Edgewater. They can go outside in the hallway, and they can have their pregame. They can step outside if it's not raining and have a pregame. And then, like say, when the game's over with, normally what they'll do is they'll run and grab their bag, and then they'll just go to the house from there. So like I say, business as usual, unless, you guys come up with something different.
Okay, thank you. But for the most part, they'll already be dressed.
That is what we're suggesting. I mean, we're suggesting that way, least amount of time in one room, least amount of time in one room in a closed area if it's not big enough to accommodate the 6 foot distancing.
But we'll still need
Okay, thank you.
someplace secure to put our bags and stuff like that. So the bags can sit in the room. We just need a secure place to do that. Because I'll still have a little carry bag with me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I see there's a question about head wraps for a religion. As far as I am concerned and know, if it's for religion purposes, then normally a letter is just say, hey, this is one for religious purposes. And, we're not going to question it where it came from. It's just to state that, hey, this is the reason why she's wearing it. And we're okay with that. I mean, because, there are different religions that don't allow, females to not have a head wrap on. Okay, any other questions? Come on, y'all making this too easy. This is the opportunity to blast us.
Ask about color with that. So I guess ideally, if it could match the color of everything else, that's great, but it's not going to be an issue one way or the other.
Yeah, there's no color restrictions for religious wraps. It's in the rule book.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, if you guys don't have any other questions and you don't have any other questions and everybody's typed their name in and the school that they represent, I appreciate everybody joining us and then being part of this. With COVID, we've had to learn how to do a lot of different things in a lot of different ways. I don't know what to expect, so I don't have any question. So, Bobby, can you explain the meaning you don't know what to expect? In what terms? Are you a new coach or so can you explain that and we can kind of go into it a little bit?
No, I'm not a new coach, but the COVID thing is all new. So I really don't know if it's business as usual or, some things may come up that are unexpected. So I don't know what to expect.
And that's why we're asking for communication, because you're 100% correct. At any minute, things can change. And according to the state, nothing changes unless they send something out in writing as far as the officials are concerned. So, but any minute, you're right, things can change. Schools from one day to the next can decide, okay, hey, we're good here, but hey, wait a minute, we need you to do this. And that's why we're asking our officials to be flexible and professional when it comes to going to each individual school. So, and the coaches, again, the one thing I also want to reiterate, if you have an official that is not professional, I need to know. Alan needs to know. I mean, because our goal is, you guys are our customers, and you might not like our calls, but as long as we're professional and we're doing the job the best we can, that's what I can ask of the officials. So if any official is not being professional, please shoot us an email, and we'll talk to those officials, because again, we need to be professional in everything that we do.
And again, our goal, everything between the lines is going to hopefully be as normal as possible. What you do outside the lines with your school's protocol and what your county protocols are, that is up to you to enforce. We are not going to do that. If you have 12 guys sitting shoulder to shoulder, that's not our challenge. We may say, hey, they're pretty close, but we're not going to ask you to adjust it. That is up to your administrators and your schools to determine how that's set up. So We just ask that you, again, minimize the risk, maximize safety, and we'll all have a great season. And we all get through it staying safe and healthy. That's the goal.
There's another question. I had the rule on me, but there was a question and it's not gonna let her play until I found it. I'm sorry. Okay, let me read that again. I had the rule on me, but there was a question. It's not gonna let her play until I found it.
It was on the headdress. That's what I was commenting back.
Okay.
Basically, I had to find the rule for them. So that's why I'm basically wanting the officials to be aware, because I still have that kid on my team.
Okay.
And I don't want to have to run into that, because we ran into that like 4 or 5 times at different places, including our own gym. And our colors are red, and they're not going to wear that color for their head wrap. Is usually black. So we had white uniforms, or we had red uniforms, and that was the issue with it. And I just want the officials to be aware of it, because, like I said, we got questioned about it 5 or 6 times during the season last year.
Pat, what school are you with?
East River.
Okay. I mean, I'll make sure that I mention that, and I'll send an email. I mean, I'll make sure that I mention that, and Jim can send out a rules question on that as well to the to our organization. We'll try to cover that this year, and hopefully, you know,
I just wanted to
Because it's not just the headdress. It's also, of course, she's covered all the way down to with the leggings and everything. So that was for whatever reason, even though you're allowed to wear like black with white or black, beige, or white, it still was a question. And I mean, it was to the point I literally had to go on my phone, because I took a picture of an email I had gotten in reference to that, to show them that that was okay. So from FHSAA, because I actually called to ask, because I didn't want it to be a problem, but it still was a problem. So
see, I think the one thing that may get the officials now, if all of the other teammates are wearing black as far as the leggings are concerned, she needs to be in black. I mean, if they're wearing red, you know, whatever the team is wearing on her leggings, that may be part of it. She needs to actually have the same color as her teammates.
But the problem is that with that religion, they're not going to have red.
Well,
So if we have red uniforms, you understand what I'm saying? It's not going to be red. And typically the kids wear red tights, red whatever with the red uniform. So that was a problem then with that.
So then this is, I mean, again, this is, that's why you'll probably get it. I mean, I know you may have red uniforms, but then ask your other teammates to wear to wear black. And I can see if there can be a waiver, but then that's where each night you're going to probably have somebody question that. So I can see that part of it, but I can't see the headband part of it.
Well, and when I asked FHSAA, they actually said that it shouldn't be of question, and as long as it is black, white, or beige, regardless of what our uniform is, I actually have that in an email. They said it's fine. And once I presented the email, but of course, typically I don't have my phone on me during the game, so I had to go and hustle to get my phone, and that's when it was like, okay. But I'm saying I had to go through that. We had to go through that for several games. So I actually asked FHSAA what the rule was for that. So then I had the email. So
okay, I will talk to Jeremy, which I thought he may have tried to get on tonight, but he was doing a lacrosse thing. I will ask Jeremy about that, and then we will address it as a organization, because, like I said, this is the first I'm hearing of it. This is some things like this. If you shoot us an email, me an email or Al an email at VP basketball or president basketball or CFOA. These are things that we could have addressed during the season. I could have sent out a mass email. So these are things, coaches, that if we run into stuff like this that's unusual, we can solve some of your headaches by just communicating, and in this way we'll communicate it to especially to the ones that are going to do your game. Say, hey, at this school, this is what's going on. Okay.
Yeah, if you have a letter from the state, from Jeremy or whatever approving it, you should always just keep that with your scorebook, and that way that helps clarify it.
Okay.
All right. So benches to the baseline or inline. I don't like that. Is really, to me, you're creating a depending on how much room you have between the baseline and the basket, the officials have to officiate there, and then you're actually going to be a little bit closer to the officials and farther away from the table, and then you have to go do substitutions. So benches on the baseline, I would say no. Jim, is there anything in the rules about benches on the baseline to your knowledge off the top of your head?
Yeah, they're not legal.
Not legal? So, I mean, that's a question, and that came from, hopefully I'm saying it right, Bell Munez. What school are you with, Bell? Celebration? Okay. Tell you what, if we can't, I will look into that as well. But again, I don't, I don't know. I've seen anything like that in the rule book, but I think it will create a lot of trying to get somebody to the table for substitutions, and then your coaching area. You still would have your coach's box, which would have to be on the sideline, not at the underneath the basket. So you'll be further away from your players if you coach standing up. But again, I don't know the answer to that, but we'll definitely look into it for you. Good question. All right. Anybody have anything else they'd like to cover? Again, we appreciate everybody and all the questions. Like I say, we're trying to develop a good working relationship with all coaches and trying to improve the officiating. And again, we want to know, especially if they're being unprofessional, or if you feel an official is not giving 110%. These are things that we need to know. We were even almost thinking about trying to get a coaches committee together and kind of give us a list of 30 names of officials that they felt were some of our top officials for playoff consideration. But it's kind of hard to do when COVID and not enough time to actually talk and get with the officials. I mean, get with the coaches. Okay. So if anybody else don't have anything, as I said, with this video recording, as soon as I can find out exactly where to go or where we can post it, I will let the county ADs know, so you guys can go back in and take a look and see what we discussed and the rule changes and interpretation. So if no one else has.
Wait, I wait a minute. I think we just got one from Coach Cohn, I think. I think you should read this.
Okay.
I just did.
Yeah, I think we really got to read this and sort of talk through this.
Sure. Sure, John. Sure, Coach. I'll be glad to talk to you. You may not like what I have to say, but I'll talk to you.
Well, we always teach leniency, but that's a good one.
I say you already have your warning.
All right. All right. Anybody got anything else? All right. Well, we appreciate everybody. Thank you. Carmine, Jim, Alan, can you guys please stay on? And thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Yes, thanks for joining us, and have a good night and a great season.
Thank you. Good night.